What's going on, and welcome to another live edition of Real Fans Real Talk. Before we go any further, let me just again we're gonna start the show off saying Happy Father's Day. The fathers don't get enough love and appreciation out there, so I'm gonna still start the show. I know it was yesterday, but Happy Father's Day first and foremost to my co-host ERic Sanchez. But again, to all of the fathers out there in the world that have been holding it down, been standing on business. Much respect, much love to y'all. Giving y'all flowers right now for all the fathers out there.
Absolutely, man. Hope all the dads out there enjoyed their day. I know I did, and it is one of the greatest titles I hold as a dad, man. I just and it's crazy, I know we were gonna mention it, but even right before I came on air, my oldest daughter and I were having a really good conversation. I just love that space to have with my both my daughters, where it's just that open line of communication and just being there and watching their growth. Having one daughter that's a teenager, one that's getting out of the toddler stage and just kind of going through both phases is amazing to me.
Exactly. With that being said, we got a lot to get into. ERic, as you have deemed this is boxing season, and we had another big fight go down this Saturday night. Big knockout that we're gonna talk about a little bit later on in the program because I see I got them questions coming in already. NBA Finals. The Mavericks were able to kick the broom out of Paul Pierce's hands because he was thirsty, bringing the broom out a couple of days ago, on the other network over there. But between that and some physicalities going on in the WNBA as well, the media be trying to push these certain narratives. But we're gonna get into all that in just a minute. Let me introduce my co-host, my brother, ERic Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man? All right, I think ERic, it's all good. ERic will be back with us in a second. There we go. There go ERic right there, pulling back up to the set.
Trip, let me know. Let me
Much better,
know. You hear
much
me?
better. You look good now. You look.
All right. No, but I'm saying I'm excited for Game 5.
Mhm.
I'm excited to get into the fight game. If we have time to get into that, because I know we're about an hour away from tip off. And I think even though this series is 3-1, I know we're going to get into the finals right now. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. I think
Yes.
it's still been a competitive series. I think 3-1 is the accurate way the series has played out, but it's also been competitive. And I'm really interested to see now how Boston responds to that. Was probably their worst loss of these playoffs.
That
So
was the
now
worst
we get
loss
it.
ever in an NBA Finals. Let's be clear.
No, but I'm saying for them specifically in these
No, I
playoffs,
know.
like
They
they've
said
had,
that's the
yeah.
worst loss ever.
So right, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they respond now because yeah,
Yes.
they get to go back home, but there is that chink in the armor. You wonder if Dallas has seen anything on film that can translate to Game 5.
Well, hopefully they respond better than Frank Martin did to that uppercut and that left. But
That's what we
we're
want.
gonna
That's
say
what we
that
want
for
to
later.
start. That's
We're
what we
gonna
want to
say
start.
we're gonna say that for later because we got the questions coming in. Shout out to Kyrie Thompson first in the building. Game 5 tonight, folks. I'm hoping Mavs take it 6 or 7 just to see pressure on Boston. Y'all know I would love that. Paul Pierce makes it so difficult to try to like Boston or support anything that they doing. So I would love that. Plus, Kyrie's my guy. I like Luca. So I would love to see this thing go 7 series. And then as the basketball fan, I don't want to see the NBA end tonight. I know we ain't got but so many games left, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. But if we can extend this thing a couple more days, I would appreciate it.
Well, yeah, this is what I said the other day before Game 4 that I hope the series extends as long as possible. So we
Mhm.
can get more basketball because we know once this series is over, we're really in the dog days of summer at that point. So I hope Dallas can respond, but I do think one of the things that people in the comment section they've tried to criticize me on, oh, ERic makes it seem like the Mavs are closer to Boston than what they really are. I've been harping on it since Game 1. The 3-point shooting has really been the difference. In the first 3 games, Boston was head and shoulders better shooting the 3 ball. In Game 4, Dallas closed the gap shooting the 3 ball, and it showed in the result of the game. And Dallas has pretty much had a layup line. They've won the points in the paint easily in every game this series. So tonight, I still think 3-point shooting will be the difference. If Dallas can stay on par with Boston the way they did in Game 4 shooting 3, they got a really good chance. But if Boston is lights out from the 3, then it's over tonight.
Exactly. I think Dallas has a chance. I think they figured some things out. Um, Now, obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. had his best game of the series, maybe even best game of the playoffs because he hadn't really been too active. So can we get a repeat performance from Tim Hardaway Jr. or at least something along those lines? I think it's going to be up to the role players though for Dallas. You have an opportunity to extend the series and put a lot more pressure. What you did right now, everyone always says it's hard to close out a series, right? So you were down 3-0, you managed to get one in. At this point, you're just playing one game at a time. Right? We're gonna go in there, we're gonna try to win this game and get back get back to Dallas for game 6. And then if we can win in Dallas at home, then we push this thing to game 7, then it's anybody's series. Obviously there's still pressure on Dallas, but there's more pressure on Boston right now because now this is going to be your second time trying to close out the series, and if you can't get the job done, now that's when the mental anguish starts to take effect. Because like, all right, hold up, now we was up 3-0. All right, whatever. We let them get that one. Game 4, we go back. You know what I'm saying? Now they win this game tonight. And that changes things. And we talking about the NBA finals, so your mental capacity has to be on 1,000 during this time, especially because this is the closeout. This is the end of the season. This is when it all counts. This is when you have the opportunity to bring home that championship trophy. For Boston, they can certainly close this series out tonight, but you cannot do whatever the game plan was going into game 4. You better rip that up, shred it, throw it out, burn it, whatever you got to do. Start fresh, get back to what you guys did in games 1 and 2. Obviously, as Porzingis is still out, or is he going to be back for tonight? I haven't seen if he's playing tonight.
They said he's expected to play tonight.
Okay, so
it's just no telling how many minutes. Yeah, no telling how many minutes he's going to play though.
So it's going to be kind of similar to what we saw in games 1 and 2, where we didn't know what as far as time, what we were going to get for Porzingis. But hopefully, for the Celtics' sake, it doesn't do them harm bringing him back right now, because we've seen that happen. Guys come back and it doesn't always work out in your favor when a guy comes back off an injury. Like this. I go back to the Nets series when Harden came back. He had hurt his ankle and he just wasn't really doing what they needed to do. So sometimes a guy can come back and it's like, yeah, the morale may be up because we need this guy, especially from seeing what Porzingis did in games 1 and game 2, but it can be a hindrance too. So they got to be careful with Porzingis and how they're utilizing him in the series. And then again for Dallas, role players got to continue to step up. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean they need to. You mentioned Hardaway Jr. I thought Dante Exum gave him great minutes in the first half of that game the other night as well. And shout out to Will. I was going to mention that. Can he do that on the road now? Is the key. Can they get that same type of production like you mentioned? Hardaway Jr. 15 points, Exum I believe 11 points, 26 points from the backup guards. Can you get something similar? You may not get 26 points, but can they give you 18 points tonight on the road? Will be interesting. I don't think the pressure's on Boston yet, though. I don't completely agree with that thinking because you're still in the driver's seat. I think the way this game plays out could shift the pressure. Obviously, if Boston wins the series over, that's it. It's done. You start planning the parade. But if Boston loses tonight and they have another bad shooting performance, then I could see some doubt creeping in because they didn't really shoot the ball well in game 2. They didn't shoot the ball well in game 4. And if they don't shoot the ball well again tonight, then it becomes like, we really haven't played great in the series. Like, yeah, we're up 3-2, but we have 3 significant games where we didn't really play well. And then you start to wonder, like, can this start to creep into the next game? So I think tonight gets interesting from that standpoint. I think Boston could lose and still feel very confident about winning the series. Again, no team's ever come back from 3-0. We know how perfect you have to be. The closeout game is always the toughest in a series. But for me, it's really about how well and how efficient Boston plays. If they play well and they lose, all right, you say, hey, all right, it's on. We got a good series on our hands. But if they have another poor shooting performance, then it goes to the psyche, as you mentioned. You have to start to wonder, like, all right, we're in a little bit of a slump, even though we're up 3-2 in the series, because we haven't played and we haven't really shot that well since game 1.
Yeah, basically, it is what it is. Shout out to Imani. Boston blows out the Mavs tonight. I know both of y'all have wishful thinking. You damn right, Imani. Okay, you damn right. I ain't rooting for Boston. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Okay? I can't pay the $5.
I mean,
I'm
shout out
sorry.
to Imani. I think, yeah, I mean, the wishful thinking is more from the standpoint of keeping the series alive.
Yeah,
Neither one of us have a dog in this race. Like we're not Mavs fans, so we just want the series to continue. But I
basically.
also think that when you're looking at a series, each game is its own story. And not to say that 3-1 isn't significant, but again, if the Celtics don't play well tonight, I guarantee everyone in the comment section will have a different thinking going into game 6, because it's gonna be like, all right, Boston's coming off a couple bad games. Can they right the ship now? And is the pressure starting to get to them? So that's where I think it gets interesting. I still think Boston's in a great spot, and I expect Boston to show up in front of their home crowd. Today is officially the 16-year anniversary for when the Celtics beat the Lakers in Boston in game 5. So they have that momentum. That crowd is going to be going crazy, and there's going to be a lot of emotion in that building. So I think Boston, I expect them to respond.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, listen, that Boston is, that's that championship pedigree. All right, one of the most winningest franchises in sports, period. Even though a lot of that, came a long time ago, before either of us was really born. But that's when Boston was really getting those championships. And some would argue they had a stacked deck, and they were continuing to maneuver things around. But that's neither here nor there. We ain't gonna listen. We ain't gonna go that far. We ain't gonna go that far back with it. Okay. But let's go to Kyrie Thompson's next comment. Y'all wasn't on since game 4. The Mavs put a spanking on the Celtics. Did Boston not show up, or the Mavs took it? No, they showed up. The Mavs just took it. They just got outplayed in that game, and they made shots. That honestly, that's the difference. The difference was they weren't making shots in the first 3 games, and they started making shots in game 4. I guess they realized, all right, well, Trip is ready for his vacation. We about to get ready for our vacation too, and we don't start making some shots. And that's what they did. They started making shots. That was really the difference.
Yeah, the Mavs were desperate. It showed early. I think it was a play early in that first quarter where you see Kyrie saving the ball in the corner and getting to Luke in the paint for an and one. There was a couple times they were, diving on the floor for the ball. So the Mavs were desperate. I think Boston came in, I think a little antsy, because you could feel the energy that, hey, we could win the NBA championship tonight and we could celebrate on a plane ride home. So I don't want to take anything away from the Mavs. I just think the Mavs were more desperate that night.
It is what it is, but we're gonna see tonight, because it is going down. Listen, I'm just letting y'all know now. I'm gonna try to run through these questions because we ain't doing no overtime tonight, because we're gonna be comfortable and enjoying watching this game. All right, so I'm just letting y'all know now. I'm gonna get through the bulk of these questions, as many as I can. But when the time is up tonight. We love y'all, but we still fans. So that's why the name of the show is Real Fans, Real Talk, because we still got to enjoy our sports too. Right. Let me see what we got. Let me go to Ron. Actually, Ron says, in these finals, to me, no one has had that legacy type game. So who do y'all think tonight can have a legacy type game? Um, well, okay. Here's the thing. When you say legacy type game, because I mean, Luka is putting up 30-point triple doubles, damn near, in a couple of these games in the finals. So Luka's been having those type of games. So I guess you're referring to the Celtics, because I don't think anyone on the Celtics really has had a legacy type of game. I think they've been good games, but there hasn't been like one great individual standalone performance that would really set everyone apart from each other and say, all right, yeah, this is huge gap between this guy and everybody else. But for his sake, I would hope it would be Jason Tatum that would have that game tonight, as in a situation where you have the opportunity to close out on your home floor, to kind of shut up all of the doubters, the naysayers. He can send a message to us about him not being a face of the league material. Whatever he wants to do, I think this would be the night that he does that. And he could possibly, if that does happen, he could possibly come in and steal Finals MVP with a legacy type game tonight. But if I had to put my chips on it and pick someone from Boston that would have that type of game tonight, I would say Jaylen Brown has that night.
I mean, unfortunately, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, every game and every final does not uh, circle around a legacy. I don't think anybody on Boston can have a legacy type night. They could have a great night, whether Tatum or Brown could have a great night, but I don't think it would be a legacy defining moment because I think when we look back 5 years from now, if we say, hey, the Celtics won in 5 games, I don't think that turns into a legacy game. I don't hear nobody saying that Paul Pierce had a legacy moment against the Lakers in 2008, and Paul Pierce was great in that finals, won Finals MVP, right? Like we don't say, oh, Paul Pierce's legacy is different. We just say he was a really good player who won a chip. So if we're gonna pick one player, it's gonna be Luka because Luka's averaging over 30 in the series, and if he finds a way to go into Boston and wins tonight and forces this back to Dallas, then his legacy is the one that starts to get altered because then we're going to be talking about Luka and what he's been doing to try to carry the Mavs not only in these finals but throughout these playoffs. As I mentioned before the series, Luka was leading all players in the playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists going into the finals. So Luka has done everything he can to this point, and if he plays well again tonight, then his legacy changes. If he doesn't play well and Tatum plays well, we'll say Tatum had a great game, but I don't think we'll be like highlighting Tatum's legacy after this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because realistically, what kind of game would you need to see from Jason Tatum to say it's a legacy changing game? Like, is he putting up 50 tonight? If he put up 50, I'd be like, all right, you know what, you got that. But
No, if
other
he
than
puts
that,
up 50, yeah. If he
that's
puts up
different.
50 in a closeout game, it's a remarkable feat.
Yeah,
But I don't think we would be going crazy like, oh my God, his legacy is so different. Like Jason
no,
Tatum's in his 20s. Like we're too quick to have these legacy conversations about guys who still got like 10 more years ahead of them. Like
mhm.
I don't see it saying that Kawhi Leonard's two finals performances, like his legacy is so much different than his performances. They were great performances, but yet we still sit here and we criticize Kawhi Leonard to this day. So we're gonna still criticize Jason Tatum whether he dropped 50 tonight or not.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, right? Even though we were already looking at Steph Curry as an all-time great, when he did finally get that Finals MVP, it was kind of a little bit of a change in the talk because that was the one thing where it was like, man, bro, you ain't get no Finals MVP yet. So I will say that first, but that's Steph. Steph and Jason Tatum is two completely.
But that was also the final feather in the cap, though. That was a 32-year-old
That's what I'm saying.
Steph who had right. Steph was 32 with 3 rings already. So we were just waiting for that add-on, like our and also because he had league MVP. We had the all first team, all for NBA first teams. We already knew he was the greatest shooter of all time. We had all those things. And then it was just like the only thing missing is a finals MVP. Tatum, there's so much in front of Tatum's career as far as like road in front of him for accomplishments. If they win the finals, it is an amazing feat, and it is something that obviously stays with him for the rest of his career. But
Yeah.
again, we're talking about legacy with a guy who's in his 20s. Like
Yeah, he's got a long.
let's let the accomplishments pile up. And the same thing with Luka. If Luka would do it, let the accomplishments pile up before we start talking legacy with guys who still possibly got like 10 years in front of them. Because it starts off with us calling it legacy, and then it leads to, well, where do they rank all time? And then we start having that conversation about guys who are in their 20s, trying to compare them to guys who have 15 and 20-year careers in the NBA. Like, let them finish this off first. Finish your breakfast first. Get that done, and then we'll talk about what the next steps could be and what you could do to add on to an impressive resume, which I think is a better term for it.
We're gonna talk about that down the road too. What you just said right there, Eric. Finish your breakfast because they got the documentary out, and I saw Smush, friend of the show, Smush Parker.
Mhm.
He was on there and he was talking about how that line in the Jay-Z verse was actually about John Strickland telling that to Smush because he had missed the dunk, and John Strickland was telling him to finish breakfast. And I never realized that line was actually about Smush Parker. I knew obviously we know Strick because he said his name, but to find out that was about Smush. Next time we get Smush on, we're gonna definitely talk about that story. Let me go to Kyrie's next question. Y'all know for years fans always wondered is the NBA scripted or fixed. Some fans really believe some fixing going on. What's y'all thoughts? Well, I do believe that some of the refs was doing some fixing, but they came out and said they was doing some fixing. So I would agree with that from that standpoint. I saw Shaq a couple of days ago in an interview. I forget was that his podcast or somebody else's podcast, but he was talking about he felt the league was scripted because he was saying that who was it? I forget which year it was, but they had bought hotel reservations, something like that, to wherever the final was going to be at. Because they kind of knew that that's where this was going, and this was like early on in the playoffs. But no, I don't really believe that it's fixed, because if fixing the game is like, all right, well, is there somebody out here shaving points? Because if I'm in the NBA and I got a chance to win a championship ring, I ain't about to let nobody just get that ring from me. Are you crazy? Ain't nobody trying to do that. We're talking about one of the most, if not the most competitive sports. Ain't nobody trying to let nobody get no win. So I don't know about this whole scripted thing. I mean, you might see some coincidences and things like that. And obviously, like I said, we did have situations where refs were doing things that determine the outcome of certain games, but that wasn't a scripted thing. That was them just betting on games and trying to line their pockets up. So I don't think it's that's not
I
what I
don't
do
I
that.
don't I don't believe in that. I think that just becomes a conversational piece for people. Now, are they powers that be that would prefer certain teams? Yes, absolutely. The same way we as fans would prefer certain teams. Like, we're all biased to a certain extent to certain storylines and certain teams. But if the NBA was so scripted, why didn't we ever get a LeBron versus Kobe finals? Right?
And they was
Like, that
pushing
would,
that
right. That, I mean, why didn't we ever get that? That would have been the perfect opportunity for the league to capitalize on the popularity of both their biggest stars at their peak. And there were chances, obviously, when LeBron loses to Dwight in Orlando, Orlando goes and faces the Lakers. But there were opportunities there if the league wanted to script it or make it a certain way.
yeah.
So I don't necessarily believe that. Now, we know Tim Donaghy and we know certain officials who were connected to the mob did some things to alter the outcome of games. Tim Donaghy's even said himself he could not determine who was going to win games, but he could point shave. If a team was favored by 7.5, he'll make sure that 7.5 wasn't covered, because he'll make sure guys got in foul trouble. He'll do certain things to make sure that that total wasn't covered. But
Yeah.
he himself has said, I could not stop a team from winning, because ultimately I can't stop guys from making shots. And as you mentioned, you would have way too many people that would have to be involved. Like, how could you go into the NBA locker room and tell the Celtics don't win tonight? If this is what I play for, my like, who could tell Al Horford, a guy who's been in the league 15 plus years, he's waited his whole life for this moment. Hey, don't win tonight. Don't play hard tonight. Pause. Don't win tonight. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's not going to happen. So I don't agree with the scripted part. I do think there are some people who are involved in the underworld, gambling involved, takes a hold of guys, and bets are placed, and like, hey, look, I don't care if y'all win, don't cover the spread, or hey, the over under tonight is 220, stay under tonight. Your personal points per game tonight is 30. We would love if you could just get 28. Things like that could take place. I do believe, and I think that still takes place to this day. But the overall scripted of this is how it's going to play out, no way. No, I would never believe that you went to players and told them lose on purpose, especially if this is what you've been working for your whole life. And
Yeah.
now I'm supposed to lose because you want me to lose. What's the benefit to me?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That would be the next question: is what am I getting
Right.
if I say, all right, fine, I'll take one for the team and throw this game? I don't know. I can't call it. Yeah, big shout out to all the supporters. I see we got a couple of new jacks on the scene tonight. Appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody that been here, the day ones, and we appreciate all of the new people that's coming in right now. I'm gonna take a comment from one of the new people. Let me go here. Shout out to Latina. I see you. Shout out to all the Latina people, man. Latinos, Latinas, everybody, man. Much love to y'all. As of now, who's leading the finals MVP? Um, I I'm gonna say Jalen Brown is leading in the finals MVP. Um, because obviously, you know, they have the lead right now. So I kind of gotta say Jalen Brown, because again, it's only happened once. Rest in peace. To the late great Jerry West was the only uh person from a losing team to win Finals MVP. Even though they probably could gave it to my main man that one time, but then we definitely end up there. We ain't gonna get into all of that. But yeah, I would say Jalen Brown. Now if Dallas comes back and let's just say they even the series out, then I gotta say Dallas, because statistically nobody's close to what Luka's been doing.
It's Jalen Brown. I think with Drew Holiday is a close second, because Drew has had very impactful games in this series. So that's where I would go. I think Jalen Brown, which would be a crazy storyline to win Eastern Conference MVP, NBA Finals MVP, and yet he for some reason did not make an All NBA team. I don't know if that's ever happened before either for a guy to win both Finals MVPs, but yet not be an All NBA guy.
Well, he was good. Hey, listen, it could be a first time for everything.
Right.
He's listen. He deserves it. If the Celtics win, he definitely deserves it. You know what I mean? So, like I said, because realistically, you'd have to have an astronomical game from Jason Tatum tonight to justify
Yeah.
giving giving him the Finals MVP. Now, if they lose a couple of games and then throughout Tatum starts to get better and improve, and it's like, all right, yeah. But if they win, if they close out tonight and he don't have 60, I'm sorry, you can't tell me that Jason Tatum was the Finals MVP of this series, okay?
Yeah.
Because
As it stands right now, Tatum to me is not number one or number two.
yeah,
It
so
should be Tatum or Holiday as the top two guys leading for Finals MVP.
yep. Let me see. Ron Charles. Why do y'all all think Kyrie struggles in Boston? Is it the crowd? I can imagine what they saying to him. I can imagine some of the things that they saying as well. But I don't know. I can't say. Why does anybody struggle in any arena? I don't know. Just is it a mental thing? I know it didn't go well for Kyrie in Boston, so maybe that might be it. But it could also just be, sometimes guys have a rough patch, and this is just a point in the season where they are, so it's showing out against Boston. But it could also be that they got a lot of guys a lot of different defenders that you can throw at Kyrie and could possibly, give him some issues because you got Derek White who's a two-way player, you got Jalen Brown who's all defense, you got who's you got Drew Holiday who's all defense, White is all defense. These guys are two-way players. Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, all these guys are two-way players. Like I said, they're all two-way players. So you got a lot of different looks. So it could be a little bit of the Celtics defense, and it could be a mental thing with Kyrie, or it could just be he's just sometimes guys have off nights.
Yeah, his struggles in Boston are a little bit more recent because his time in Brooklyn, he actually played well in Boston and against Boston. But I think in this series in particular, he's just trying too hard. You see it; it's over dribbling. It's too much action. It's him trying to do too much as opposed to get it and go and get into his action right away. So the defense plays a part of it, as you mentioned, because I do think he struggled when they put taller defenders on him like Brown and Tatum. He's had his way a little bit more when White has guarded him. But we'll see tonight. Is he going to be more decisive with his actions, or will it be one of those things where he overcompensates and he turns into ISO Kyrie, where it's over dribbling and trying to do too much to get a shot off?
Yeah. So we'll see. We're gonna see tonight in game 5 because it can't be no more struggle performances in Boston, or that's gonna be it. So we'll see tonight.
No, it got to right. It got to be more, but he got to look more like Game 4 Kyrie.
Yeah. So hopefully we get that tonight. Shout out to Justin Frizione. How nervous should Celtics be if they fumble game 5 away? Very nervous. Now you just lost 2 straight, and that's scary. And not only did you just lose 2 straight, but you lost 2 straight, and you're heading back to Dallas again. Even though I know you've won there on the road, but now that momentum start shifting a little bit. So you lose tonight, and then you're heading back to Dallas, and I can tell you right now that building is going to be on fire if the Dallas Mavericks win tonight and they can extend this series. So you should definitely be very nervous. That's why I said realistically, if you're Boston, you need to be closing that series out tonight. This needs to be done. We should be talking about the NBA Finals for one more week, and that's it. But tonight, this thing should be done if you're Boston, because if you let this thing slip through your fingers tonight and you get back to Dallas, I don't know. I don't know if they can get another win in Dallas. Now they might be able to win in Game 7 in Boston, but if you lose tonight and have to go back to Dallas, I don't know if they win that game. I think Eric is having technical difficulties again. So while we're waiting on Eric to get back right, wait, hold up. Think we good, Eric? We good? All right. Well, while we're waiting to get back right, let me go to these. Let me go to these next couple of questions. Shout out to Will Gordon. What it do, baby? What's going on, man? Eric, you good now? I
Can you
heard
hear
something.
me?
Yeah, there we go. Got you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, to the previous question, I think if you're Boston and you lose tonight and now you're 3-2 on the road, you should be very nervous because, as I mentioned, you've already had a couple bad shooting performances in this series, and now you got to go on the road where you struggled in Game 4, and Dallas had an opportunity in Game 3 as well to win. So it's not like Boston played well in really either one of those games in Dallas. So I would be very nervous if you lose tonight if I'm the Celtics.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop. Let me throw this question up. Which Kyrie Irving will we get in the game 5? Does Jason Tatum go off tonight and grab the Finals MVP? Again, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, he would have to have an astronomical game, win, lose, or draw tonight, to get the Finals MVP because he hasn't outplayed Jalen Brown this series. So if you telling me just this one game, and he'd have to have an astronomical game, and then Jalen Brown have like 0 points, 8 turnovers, 1 rebound. You know what I mean? Like Jalen Brown would have to have an extremely bad game, and he'd have to have the best game of anybody's career for it to be like, all right, well, we can justify giving Jason Tatum the Finals MVP at this point.
As far as Kyrie, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what Kyrie we're getting tonight. And really Kyrie's performance is probably going to dictate who even wins tonight because if we get a good Kyrie, then Dallas has a good shot to win. If we get the bad Kyrie that we got from the first 2 games, then Dallas is probably getting blown out. So I don't know what Kyrie we're getting tonight, to be honest. Does Tatum go off tonight and grab the Finals MVP? Ironically, you guys have been saying it's Tatum going off since Game 1. If you look back at all the episodes, you guys keep saying, "Oh, Tatum's going off tonight. Tatum's going off tonight." I don't think that's how their offense is structured. It's not really structured for Tatum to go for 35 plus a night. It's structured for everyone to be involved, great ball movement, get open shots. If he goes off tonight, I still don't know if he will grab the Finals MVP because, as Trip mentioned, Jalen Brown has probably been more consistent throughout the series. And unless Jalen Brown shits the bed tonight, he's going to have a good night as well, and it'll probably increase his chances of winning the Finals MVP. So I think Tatum would have to have a 45 piece tonight for people to kind of be like, all right, give it to Tatum. Because if he goes for 30 and Brown goes for 25, how can we say he had a better series than Brown?
Exactly. You can't. There's no way to justify
Right.
that. So it is what it is. Let me see. Some things out. Let me go to Dion Hoop's page. If Boston wins tonight, do you all feel they can win maybe 2 titles in 4 years? It's definitely possible because for the most part, those guys are under contract. Jalen Brown's under contract for a couple of years. Tatum is under contract for a couple of years. I believe Derek White is going to be there. I mean, Horford is probably at some point. I mean, I know he's on his Iron Man streak, but at some point he might, wind up retiring. I think the big key there is whether or not they're able to keep Porzingis over the next couple of years. But I think they'll either way. I think they'll be in title contention. Whether they win or not, I think they're still going to be in title contention with this team because they're a good enough team. They're a deep team, and they're for the most part, they're a younger team.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in the mix for multiple titles. 2 titles in 4 years, if they can close out this series, is very possible. Again, they've been to 6 Eastern Conference Finals in the last 7 years, so they're in the mix every year. The main issue is going to be health and how they fill out the roster around their 2 stars. Because us saying can Boston win 2 titles in 4 years is no different than the conversation we had around Denver last year when Denver won their chip. You expect Denver to be in the mix, but you see how sometimes it play out from year to year. It doesn't always go as smoothly. So Boston can definitely be in the mix. 2 titles in 4 years is a real possibility for this team with their 2 stars.
Yeah. Let's see. Shout out to Will Gordon. Kyrie needs to be the primary handle the ball again. And Dante Exum gave them some big minutes off the bench. Can he replicate that on the road? If he can, it's on. Yeah, that's the question. Can Dante Exum, can Tim Hardaway Jr., Can Kyrie Irving replicate what they did in Game 4? And if they can, then they have just as good a chance as Boston to win this game. Because you got to think, right? Game 1, I think Boston pretty much ran them out the gym. Game 1, game 2, but game 3 was actually a pretty close game. That came really kind of came down towards the end, and then game 4 we show what happened in game 4. So I think if those guys can do what they did on the road this time, I think they have a good chance of winning the game. But again, you got to also be looking to Jason. You might need Jason Tatum to miss a couple more shots this time around. Jaylen Brown, you're gonna need to have some of those guys have not have their best game at the same time too. But I think it's gonna be a tough matchup either way. I think this is going to be the closest game of the series. Like I don't see a blowout happening with either team this time around. I think this one like really is going to come down to the last 2-3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and I agree with Will in terms of the Dante Exum part of it, as I mentioned earlier. Not just Dante Exum, Tim Hardaway Jr., because Tim Hardaway Jr. didn't play well in Game 3, and then he did play well in Game 4. So you need him to play a little better. You need Dante Exum to play better in this game. If they can get that bench production like they got in Game 4, they have a legitimate shot. Kyrie is the primary ball handler. Will and I kind of touched on this. I like it in some instances, but I think what happens too often is, like I said, on those cross matchups, it becomes very easy to throw a bigger defender at Kyrie. And so that's one of the things they've been trying to stay away from, because if you put him in pick and roll, he's going to get a bigger defender. And that's where he struggled to get a shot off. So they've been trying to work Luka. What I would like to see them do, if they're going to go with Kyrie as the primary ball handler, though, is I think Luka needs to be posting up at the free throw line and kind of operate at the free throw line where he can go to work and shoot. He's going to get a shot, but then he also can facilitate, because if they try to send a double, it makes it easier to get those baseline cutters from that spot, as opposed to Luka starting so high up and then trying to isolate through the defense. So there's opportunities there if you're going to go with Kyrie as the primary ball handler. But I definitely agree with Will on the Dante Exum part of it. They got to get some big minutes from him and the rest of the bench.
Yeah. Shout out to Hoopball School. He said legacy means a 45 to 50 point game. Trip, give us till 8:15 ish. No, we good because the game starts at what time? The game starts at 8:30. I thought, isn't it 8:30? Am I bugging Eric? What time is the game starting tonight?
8:30.
Yeah,
that's why we started 7:30, guys. We do the pre-game for 1 hour leading up to it.
Yeah, so we good. We got some. Listen, I'm gonna get through these comments. I got y'all. Don't worry. I'm gonna get through all of these comments. All right, let me see. Let me get the rest of these Celtics comments out the way, because I see we got some other questions over here. Okay, let me throw, because they want me to get to Imani's comment. I know we kind of been talking about it, but Imani says, "What would a Finals MVP do for Tatum's legacy? At a young age, he's been in a lot of All NBA teams. How many Eastern Conference Finals and 2 Finals in 3 years? Will be 2 gold Olympic medals." Okay, so I think right now we got to stop using the word legacy on guys that aren't in the latter years of their career. I think we got to just say resume. We got to say, how can these guys improve their resume? Because your legacy realistically is determined once you're done with whatever, respectively, with whatever you were doing in your career. It's usually determined when you're done. That's how we say, all right, this was his legacy. This is what he left behind. This is what he did here. It's usually, when people are done doing whatever it is that they're on this earth doing. So let's change that word for now. Unless we're talking about a guy like Steph or KD or Braun or one of the elder statesmen, let's say resume, right? So what would a Finals MVP do for Tatum's resume? Okay, so right now, he's already an Olympic gold medalist. I don't. There's no debating in my mind that he'll have 2 by the end of the summer. So let's just say, I'm just going to give him that one. I'm going to say he's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He's a great player. He's been a top 5 player for a couple of years now. He's gotten several trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's been to an NBA Finals. Resume right now, I say his resume is actually, and if he's on par to going into the Hall of Fame because again, it's basketball, not just NBA. But I would say he's on par for being a Hall of Famer. A Finals MVP, which obviously would come along with a championship ring, pushes him into guaranteed Hall of Famer status. That's what it would do for his resume right now. All right. So again, guys, let's stop. Let's start saying resume as opposed to legacy when you're talking about these younger players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what type of I just don't know, I guess, what you guys are expecting in terms of legacy from these guys right now, because I think that winning a finals and a finals MVP at this age to go with the gold medals, to go with the all NBA teams is great. And it shows that he was one of the best players of his era. But I want to like backtrack for you guys. What do you guys think of Kawhi Leonard's legacy now? That he's been injury prone for like the last 5 years, that and to a certain extent, Kawhi Leonard peaked very early in his career because he went to 3 NBA finals early on. He won MVP of 2 of those finals. Obviously, he won in Toronto. But since he's left Toronto, he's plateaued, right? Like Kawhi is not in any MVP conversations. Kawhi makes some all NBA teams, but he's probably never going to make another all NBA team now with the new restrictions in terms of games played. And we don't talk about Kawhi's legacy as like, oh, he's one of the most dominant forces of his era. We say, hey, he was a very good player of his era and he had a very good run. So, like I said, we talk about Tatum's legacy as if like this is the end of it. Tatum still has a lot of playing time left in front of him, hopefully, barring any significant injuries, barring anything that changes in his playing style. So, legacy-wise, like if he wins the Finals MVP, are we calling him the greatest Celtic ever?
No, hell no.
Is he the second greatest Celtic?
No.
Is he the third greatest Celtic?
No, I mean, if he wins the Finals MVP, he may be top 7.
Right. So I don't like what do we when we say legacy, like we said, when we talk legacy, we talk about like premier guys, like the top upper echelon guys. Like what does, like you said, what does the Finals MVP meant for Steph's legacy? Yeah. Steph already was a 3-time champion, multiple time MVP of the league, all these NBA accolades. And the last feather in the cap that was missing was a Finals MVP. Yeah. Even if they win tonight, we still not talking about Tatum as a top 5 Celtic of all time. So why are we discussing legacy right now?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's why I said.
Like it's real talk for the people in the comment section, and Will Gordon, especially for you, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm gonna say this, and a lot of y'all not gonna like this. Jason Tatum hasn't had a better career than Paul Pierce yet. So why are we talking about Jason Tatum's legacy when he hasn't even surpassed Paul Pierce as a Celtic? We're so quick to give these accolades out in these terms like, oh, the legacy. What legacy? He's not better than Paul Pierce was as a Celtic. So he has a lot more to accomplish before we can really cement what his legacy is, even with winning this NBA Finals, which they're probably about to do.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let me see. Where do we go from here? USA. We're gonna give shout out to Pooh. What up, Pooh? See you. Shout out to Antoine Pitt. We're gonna get to your comment in just a minute. Yeah, you know what? Let's go to this one from Antoine Pitt. This is another new Jack on the scene, but we welcome everybody, man. We appreciate you for dropping in. Derek White is a strong candidate to replace Kawhi Leonard on the USA team. If Kawhi can't get healthy, why not Kyrie? I saw that and I was wondering, like, hold up, like Derek White, like I kind of had to laugh at it. Like, wait a minute, we talking about replacing Kawhi with Derek White? Derek White wasn't even in the conversation for being on Team USA. Like, if Kawhi can't go, and you put Derek White over Kyrie, I don't even care if Boston wins the finals or not. Now, if Boston won the finals and Derek White was the finals MVP, and then y'all put him on the team, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna let y'all have it. But he ain't gonna be finals MVP if Boston does win. And then what happens if Boston loses? Then are we still having that discussion about him taking Kawhi's spot on Team USA? I think there's several guys, including Kyrie Irving, that I would put on Team USA ahead of Derek White. And that's no disrespect to Derek White, but I think he's a good, solid role player. Obviously, you know, his first time being all defensive team. But the Team USA, nah.
I agree. He wasn't even when we discussed the biggest snubs. I mean, how would Derek White make the team over Jalen Brunson?
Nobody. Oh my, yeah. Are you crazy?
Like,
That,
how does Derek White? We talked about snubs.
yeah.
How does he make the team? Like I said, over Jalen Brunson then.
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
So I don't know.
Is Donovan Mitchell was I forget Donovan Mitchell's not even on the Team USA.
Donovan was a snub as well. Donovan
That's
was
what I'm
another
saying.
snub.
So
Right.
you don't just
Yeah. I don't think Derek White should be the replacement. If he is, I wouldn't be mad. I ain't knocking it. You know, enjoy the moment, enjoy the opportunity. But if we're gonna say, if we went down the list of guys who were snubs when we talked about that, how do we then just say, oh, Derek White jumps those guys who we considered snubs a month ago when they didn't make the team? I don't see how that correlates to that. And in regards to, shout out to Lene, she said, how many All NBA teams has Tatum made so far? He's been a 3-time first team All NBA, and he was a 1-time third team. So 4 All NBAs in his 8 seasons in the league.
As I said, that's a Hall of Fame resume. You're getting there. You get into you get into that Hall of Fame level. Let me go to. Oh, is this it? Hoop Ball Scoop? I guess that's coming from Hoop Ball Scoop. Check this stat out. Tatum early in his career has more playoff points than Melo, Dwight, KG, Paul George, AI, Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol. The boy not even 30. His resume is awesome. I mean, okay, he's going.
I got a question though. I think he's played more playoff games than guys as well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, in his 8 seasons in the league, like I said, 6 of those they went to the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, in no disrespect to Melo, Melo only got out the first round 2 times in his whole career.
Yeah. And so I hope we're not about to do that.
No, but I'm saying I know for a fact that Jason Tatum has played more playoff games than Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
So to say, oh, he scored more playoff games. All right, so let's put it in proper context. Did he play more games? And if so, how many more games did he play?
Most of these guys on this list, with the exception of Jimmy Butler and Gasol during part of that tenure with the Lakers, most of these guys weren't making consecutive deep playoff runs with their respective teams, right?
Right.
You can start with Melo first.
Right.
Melo on the Knicks, they didn't have a team during Melo's run that we said, oh, this is a championship team. Because one, we could never get Amari and him healthy at the same time. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? The same thing with KG. KG wasn't going on no deep playoff runs. Most of his career is in Minnesota. His deep playoff runs didn't start until he was already past prime in Boston.
He had only got out the first round 1 time in Minnesota.
Yeah. Paul George.
He wasn't right. I mean, I looked it up real quick. Before this season, coming into the season, Tatum had already played in 94 playoff games.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's.
So I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that's more than Melo, KG, like, and that's not a knock on Tatum because, as you mentioned, Hoop Ball Scoop, at the end of that, he's not even 30, so it is impressive. But let's also keep it in proper context. If you're playing 20 more games, 30 more games than somebody, you're probably going to have more points as well.
Yeah, you if you want to make that kind of comparison, then you have to make it with players that have gone on deep playoff runs year after year after year. Like you gotta say, all right, well, did he have more points than Tim Duncan, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron? You know what I'm saying? Kevin Durant, like guys that have been on multiple deep playoff runs.
I'm gonna take it a step further. Hoop Ball or Scoop, out of the guys you mentioned, which one of those you think that Jason Tatum's better than? If we really want to have that conversation, who is he better than of those guys that you mentioned?
Maybe Gasol. Maybe I might say Gasol. He's maybe better than Gasol, but I don't like to compare different positions like that.
So he's probably I think he's better than Paul George, and I like Paul George. I think he's better than Paul George.
I'll say that.
But if you're telling me the best version of Jason Tatum in comparison to the best version of these guys right now, and anybody in the comment section can let me know. I know y'all don't think he better than Melo was.
No. Or damn sure ain't better than AI. So we ain't
not better, right. He wasn't better than the best version of AI.
That little mini statue they gave AI.
He not better. He not better than the best version of KG. He not better than the best version of Dwight.
No.
So really, you talking Jimmy Butler and Gasol that he's probably better than.
We can't even say Jimmy Butler because
Jimmy's beat him in the playoffs twice.
So
and Jimmy's gone toe to toe with him and beat him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's cool to say, oh, he got more points than him. Is he better than any of them? No.
Yeah, I agree. I think the arguments would be Gasol and Paul George. But other than that, no, he ain't better than none of these guys. I'm sorry, I can't even say that. Let me see what we got next. Oh, Antoine, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that fight in a little while because how much time we got left? We got 7 minutes. All right, we gotta start getting through these questions, y'all.
Right,
almost game time. Let me see. No. Hold on, let me see. Shout out to Pooh. Eric, I've been watching the last few shows. No commenting, but something tells me you don't like Tatum. You never positive about him. I feel. Am I right or wrong? Well, that's on you, sir.
So shout out to Pooh because I know you've been a great supporter of the show, but I don't think you're correct in that case. And then Scoop Hoop said Pooh getting at me in the comments. She's not getting at me. That's her opinion, and I respect her opinion. But shout out to Pooh because I know you've been a supporter of the show since we started going live. But if you follow me on social media, you'll see recently that shout out to Combos Court, who's been on this podcast and on the Sanchez show. I've been an avid defender of Jason Tatum for years, and he recently posted a portion of a conversation we had when this whole Tatum and Brown conversation started 4 years ago about who was better. My personal opinion, I think Tatum is a very good, highly skilled player, but I think he's plateaued. And I think what we see from Jason Tatum the last 2.5 years is who he is. He settles for far too many three-point shots. The handle is not as strong as it should be. And he's a guy who drifts out of games from time to time. He is very similar to Paul George in some ways, where you could go 4 or 5 minute stretches in a game and Tatum will not assert himself on the game. And it's one of the things that I keep saying about Jason Tatum. I want to see him assert himself on the game more because I know his skill set is that of one of the elites in the game. But too often we're holding on to the thought and the idea of who Jason Tatum was early in his career, right? When he had that dunk on LeBron, when he went toe to toe with KD and him early in his career. The last 2 playoffs, I encourage you guys to show me the moment where he's really taken over a game and say, hey, this is my team and I'm going to carry the team. He's had a lot of moments where he's drifted in and out of games. So it's not that I don't like Jason Tatum. I just expect more from him. And I definitely feel he's plateaued over the last 2 years.
There you have it. Shout out to Pooh. Let me go to Lene. Shout out
Pooh got people thinking we beefing now.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lene Chanel Jones. We might be related. Are we related to Lene? I don't know. We're going to have to check the family tree. See if we're related. Luka is currently the blank best player in the NBA. That's tough. So let me just break this down. Because for me, I'm gonna say he's somewhere in the top 5. I don't know exactly where I have him in the top 5, but I'm gonna say somewhere in the top 5. Okay. I can't put him higher than 3 though, personally, because if you're not elite on both sides of the basketball, I can't give you that push to say you're top 3. But he's so great offensively, I can put him in the top 5. So that's and I think from watching Luka this series, I think we can all confirm Luka did not play no damn defense.
Oh, we know that. He's never played any defense. We know that.
Yeah, so I can't put him. I can't put him past 3, but I can't put him further out than 5 because of everything else. He's so spectacular at everything else. I can't put him past 5.
I'm gonna put him at 3, and I love Luka. He's not better than the Joker, and we're not talking skill. We're talking best player because in terms of skill, the guy I'm about to say at number 2, I think he's more skilled than him. But to your point of impact on both sides, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is the second best player in the league because of his impact on both ends of the court. And in spite of his limitations on offense, Giannis is still a 28 and 12 guy every night. So I would put Giannis as number 2. I would put Luka as number 3, And you guys know how I feel about SGA. I think SGA is in that conversation is somewhere in the top 5 as well. Luka's 3 to me.
I got you. There you go. Let me go to School Poop because he's got a Derek White comment. I think Derek White played for current USA the last time out, so that's why Derek White has the nod. USA basketball isn't effing with Kyrie. Yeah, but that's when that happened. That's when the B and the C players was out there. That was like the third string guys. That wasn't the real ballers. We talking about the Olympics now. That's different when you get to the Olympics. We expect to see our A tier players in the Olympics, right? And again, no disrespect to Derek White, he's not an A tier player. He's not tier B. He may be in the tier C players, and I'm only going to give him that just based off him earning all defensive second team nod this season. But prior to this year, I probably wouldn't even have him in tier C. So yeah. Listen, we got a lot of guys that play. Look at how many guys from the that was playing last year in the World Championships is on this Olympic team right now. How many made the transition over? So man, Derek White, I'm sorry, but the same thing I said last week in regards to the women, you got to earn your spot to play in the Olympics. We ain't just giving out Olympic roster spots. And Derek White's resume in comparison to the other guys that aren't on this Olympic team already, especially the ones that we felt like got snubbed, it's not there. He don't have that kind of resume. Like this was the first real notch on his resume was him getting all defensive second team this season. That was like the first real was like, oh, okay, let me see what he's doing over here. That's but prior to that, there's nothing else on Derek White's resume that would say he should get this spot on the Olympic team. We ain't talking about the World Championships. We're talking about the Olympic team.
If again, Derek White is cool. I think Jalen Brunson should be. Maybe I'm biased, but the season Jalen Brunson had and him being a part of the summer team, he should get the nod over Derek White. And Kyrie, we know Kyrie is deserving, but we also know why Team USA is not going to select Kyrie. We know why. It's politics involved, and they don't want to deal with the distraction that comes with the reporters asking Kyrie certain questions during the Olympics. They just don't want that distraction. And I know we're getting ready to wrap up. I'll save it for the final thoughts. Go ahead, Trip. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna be listen. We about to breeze through.
Let's get through. Yeah, let's get through.
All right. Let me go back up to the top here. Okay, start right here. Asia Wilson's emotional reaction to the Aces struggles. I believe they like 6-6. Yeah, I think this is as many losses as they had last year. This it's a lot of basketball left. I think they'll pick it up. That don't change the fact Asia Wilson is still the top dog or dogette. I don't know how I don't want to be disrespecting nobody, but she's still the top, the number one. She got the number one spot in the WNBA right now. I think they'll be fine. They got to work some kinks out, but I think they'll be good.
She's the best player on the team, and they're the two-time defending champs, and the pressures that come with trying to three-peat. So I think they'll be fine, and I'm okay with the emotion. It's an emotional game, and she cares about what's going on with her team, so they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. And yes, Pooh, USA basketball is coming, so that's great because we still get summer basketball. And remember the NBA Summer League, so we all have our basketball fixed. Yes, you're all right, Pooh. Eric, we may need to go out to Vegas one year for Summer League. Check the young cats out, see what they're doing. We'll have to put that on the roster. Let me go back to Antoine Pitt. Klay Thompson unfollowing the Warriors, something or nothing. I don't know. They always make a big deal about guys unfollowing teams. Listen, at the end of the day, man, if Klay Thompson's with the Warriors or he's not, his legacy is always going to be tied to the Warriors. He's a 4-time NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors. Obviously he ain't gonna ever be the greatest, but he can be the second greatest. You could argue he might be the second greatest shooter of all time behind only his teammate Steph Curry. So I don't really put too much on those things.
It's nothing. They're still trying to figure out the kinks there. Obviously, I think the Warriors are going to try to do right by him and keep him, but he's got to be willing to take a massive pay cut. If he's not there, I don't think it's that big of a deal either, because we've seen the last few years that he's not the same player anymore either. So I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Shout out to Xavier Andrews, another first timer. Welcome to Real Fans Real Talk. We appreciate you. Y'all think Klay Thompson is trolling? He acting weird. It's possible, but who knows, man. I don't know. When guys coming towards the end of them contracts and they trying to renew, who knows what's going through their minds, man.
Well, I know Klay was watching the show last week and he saw Will Gordon's comments about Klay and Steph being, the first light-skinned ball players to overcome the light-skin effect. And then he said, I want to start acting light-skinned. And he got emotional, and now he's acting that way and unfollowing on social media, which is one of the weirdest shit you could ever do. Because the Warriors do not care if you follow their social media account. But he's acting weird more than anything.
All right. Shout out to Xavier Andrews again. And I was waiting to get to this one. Charles Barkley announced he's retiring from TV after the 24-25 season. What's Charles' legacy as a TV guy? See, this is a good spot where you can say what's the guy's legacy. Okay, thank you, Xavier. I think his legacy is one of the top guys in me. That whole crew, really, realistically, you can count them individually, or if you want to count them as a collective, I think that whole crew is one of the best parts of the basketball season. Because you have, a bunch of Hall of Famers, you have NBA champions, you have guys that have been in media for 40, 50 years. But, with Charles Barkley, I like Charles Barkley. I don't like all of his takes, but one thing I will say about Charles Barkley is he's not afraid to call anybody out, including someone who was once a very good friend of his and MJ. He doesn't care. So that's one thing I like about guys in the media or women in the media, people in the media in general. You can't be afraid to hold people accountable. So I like that about Chuck.
Absolutely. Draymond Green kind of coined the phrase new media, but Chuck is the embodiment of what new media was and still currently is. The player making that transition. And then, like you said, having that no holds barred approach to the game and the players. Chuck was phenomenal in his spot on TV. And it's going to be unfortunate to lose somebody like him because, like you said, that crew as a whole was great for basketball and Chuck specifically. But it is a great legacy, and it is one of the great transitions from a player to analyst and commentator.
Mm-hmm. We got to talk boxing. We got to get 3 minutes. 3 minutes on boxing.
One round.
All right. So recap: Tank versus Frank Martin. First and foremost, let me say this: Frank Martin lost that fight from the face-off. I've never in my life seen a fighter flinch from another fighter in the face-off. And Eric, I don't know if you've seen that. I have never in my life seen a fighter flinch in a face-off. When I saw that happen, I said he lost already. One. Number two, Tank told him before the fight, you ain't ready for this fight. He said, you good, but you ain't ready for this fight. He's absolutely right. And I'm going to tell you why. So there was a fight that Frank Martin was going to take before this Tank fight. He was going to get paid $1 million flat. They were offering him $1.25 million to do the Tank fight. That was the problem right there. You can't always let money change your course. He wasn't ready. And I take this back to Canelo fighting Floyd Mayweather. And that, Canelo's at that top, blah, 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 blah. Everybody was saying, I said, he's not ready for Floyd just yet. Frank Martin was not ready to fight Tank Davis. 2. Number 3. Watching Frank Martin in Tank fight reminds me a lot of the Floyd Mayweather fights that we have seen. I think he may have forgot that in the amateur, this ain't amateurs, right? So you don't just win just based off of outpointing your opponent, right? You could be outpunching or outlanding, and you still are not in control of the fight. And I felt like even though he was landing more, but it's obviously because he was throwing so many more punches. One, Tank's efficiency was way better, and Tank literally walked him down every minute of that fight up until the knockout. And finally, in the words of my main man, Ice Cube, and a lottery ticket, protect yourself at all times. Okay? Because that uppercut caught him clean, but that left put him to sleep.
So everyone's going to talk about the uppercut left, but it started with the body work of Tank Davis and his approach to breaking him down and slowing him down. And it's typical, and it's what you're supposed to do. When you got a guy who has a lot of movement and is trying to use the whole ring to avoid you, you start to go to the body and you slow him down. He's going to become more flat-footed and he's going to become more cautious of getting hit in the body. But to me, as I predicted beforehand, I knew Tank would start slow. That's typical of Tank. Also, Tank had not fought in over a year. Remember, his last fight was against Ryan Garcia in April of last year. So I knew it was going to take a couple rounds for him to kind of work off the ring rust and figure out what Frank Martin was going to do. The most telling sign to me, it was around the 4th or 5th round when Coach Calvin was talking to Tank. And Tank and Coach Calvin have such a great relationship. You can hear it in the corner where they're going back and forth on what Tank is seeing, what Coach Calvin wants him to do. And Tank said he ain't got nothing. Like, Tank had already taken his best punches and knew, like, he ain't got nothing. And then, to your point, started walking him down. And what makes Tank so special is that it's elite power with elite boxing ability. The walking down, the cutting off the ring, the not allowing. Look back at the fight. He was not allowing Frank to circle to Frank's left, which was Tank's right. He was forcing him to the left. Even at one point where Derrick James said to Frank Martin, stop going to your right because you're walking into his left hand. That was around the 6th round when he told him that, before the punishments really started coming on. So Tank is such an elite fighter that this is what he can do. He can figure you out. He can start to break you down. And if you don't have enough punching power coming back, he's going to walk you down. And he's going to apply so much pressure that you're going to buckle under that pressure. And that's what leads to the knockout. Great body work by Tank. I thought it was a great tactical approach by Tank to understand that this is a slick fighter who's going to try to use the whole ring. I'm not going to be overly aggressive. I'm going to be super efficient with my punching. Everything is going to be thrown with a purpose. And then when the time comes, I'm going to close the show. Before the ref had counted to 10, Tank was already dancing on the turnbuckle.
Exactly. Big shout out to Tank. You put some respect on that man's name. And then before we get out of here, I'm just gonna take this last one. Shout out to Latina again. Welcome to Real Fans Real Talk. And we're gonna skip to the second half because we already kind of answered the first half. But what's your thoughts on Angel Reese hard foul on Caitlin Clark? My thoughts is it's the same thing that Angel Reese said. It's a basketball play. When I watched that play, I didn't see, you know what I mean? It was a regular basketball play. It was a hard foul. You know, we not us, but the media. We got to stop with this babying of the WNBA. The WNBA did not just get like this. We did not just start having, hard fouls and things like that just when Caitlin Clark came into the league. And that's the problem, is people weren't watching women's basketball like that, even on a smaller scale, just to understand WNBA has always been a physical league, very physical. Just because it's ladies, no. These are the toughest, the best, the baddest women's basketball players in the world, and it's a tough sport, and that's what it is. Let it go. Let the ladies play. They're doing their thing right now. They're blossoming. They're growing the sport. Stop all that crying and whining and all that BS.
I thought it was a hard foul. It was a flip foul. And by the letter of the law, let's not act like in the NBA that wouldn't be called a flagrant as well, because anytime that it's a blow to the head, pause, it is a flagrant foul. We see that in the NBA as well. But it is a basketball play. Right. It's a basketball play. And those in the position with those certain networks, you guys got to stop falling for the clickbait, because this is what they're doing. They're doing this on purpose to get you guys riled up to talk about it. Caitlin Clark, I thought, handled it the right way. I thought Angel Reese handled it the right way. Only thing I like about Angel Reese is when she said certain players get special treatment from the refs or certain along those lines, because that's a little unfair, because it is a hard foul. Caitlin Clark ain't got no control if the refs call it a flagrant foul. Like, y'all make it seem like Caitlin Clark got control of what the refs call a flagrant foul now too. The only part I didn't like Angel Reese. Other than that, it's a hard foul. It was a flagrant foul, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, shout out to Benavidez too, man. Canelo, man, you gotta make that fight happen. I don't want to hear nothing else.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And
I'm telling you,
it's gonna happen.
Congrats to Jason Tatum and LMA on their first child. With that being said, Eric, give us a final thought, man.
Absolutely, because there's people that tend to think that I don't like Jason Tatum and that I'm on this Jason Tatum smear campaign. So I did the research as we were talking, Trip. Jason Tatum, going into tonight, has played 112 playoff games. Carmelo Anthony only played 83 for his career. AI only played 71 for his career. Howard played 125. PG played 114. Gasol played 136. So as of tonight, Tatum has pretty much played more games than three of those guys that were on that list. And I still didn't hear nobody in the comment tell me who they thought Tatum was better than on that list. So I'm not smearing Jason Tatum, guys. I'm just stating the facts. Let's not be prisoners of the moment and want to cement a legacy off of this season as opposed to letting this thing play out. But other than that, if
and how was
Dallas
defense?
finds a way to,
He was more of a defensive player. He wasn't really a scorer like that anyway. But he's still
Dwight. Right. Dwight. We can't pretend that Dwight in his prime wasn't better than Jason Tatum. But aside from all that, if Dallas wins tonight, as you guys know, I will be back with the pregame show before Game 6, which would be on Thursday, I believe it is. So if we don't have a show on Thursday, I'm going to try to give you guys a Friday night live and get back into that routine as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Sanchez Show and Real Talk. As I tell you guys all the time, make sure you follow us across all social media platforms. And as always, man, I'm thankful for you guys because the comment section is buzzing and it makes the show so exciting for us. So I greatly appreciate it.
Exactly. And y'all know we love y'all because we still wind up going in overtime.
Of course.
Let me just say this as for my final thought. Big shout out to Haran H2O Hargrave and the entire Bowling for Peace staff. Everything went off at John Jay College without a hitch. I'm gonna start posting the footage so that you guys can see it. Congratulations to good friend of the show. He's gonna join us very soon, Maxwell Pierce, who is now not only the first ever Bowling for Peace powered by Real Fans Real Talk dunk contest champion, but he is also the only two-time Bowling for Peace powered by Real Fans Real Talk dunk contest champion. And congratulations to him because he also just got engaged as well. He's going to be joining us very soon. And when you guys watch the tape, you're going to see that Eric couldn't be there. So I had to make a couple of phone calls to bring the legends out to help me judge this dunk contest. And y'all going to see one of them. Y'all, you might know him as LJ. You might know him as Mr. 4-Point Play. You might know him as Grandma Ma, but you definitely know this man here, Larry Johnson, was right alongside on the judges' seats with myself, with Graf. We had your boy Ken Stars up there helping us judge this one, Eric. So congratulations again to Maxwell Pierce on winning that. He got the trophy. He got the $500, and he is going to be joining us, excuse me, right here on Real Fans Real Talk very, very soon. We just got to schedule a day because he's in Cincinnati, so we got to get the time difference down. But he will be joining us very soon. And we got a couple other surprises that we linked up with at Bowling for Peace that are going to start making their appearances here on Real Fans Real Talk. So with that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, you see the YouTube up there. Subscribe to that channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And don't worry if you're not in New York City on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. If you can't watch us on TV, I know y'all like seeing us on TV on Verizon 43, but don't worry. Hit the website up, realfansrealtalk.com. Click that red button on the homepage, and you can still watch from anywhere in the world. And when you're done watching, actually, no, before you start watching, make sure you subscribe to the two best podcasts out here moving. That's the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. And then after you watch us on TV, then go back and listen to another episode. Hit the archives up, man, because we've been outside for a long time. We're going to stay outside. We got some big things coming up this summer. I'm getting ready to go down to D.C. Eric's going to be back up here in New York soon. So we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing for you guys moving forward. So with that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host, ERic Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in 2 Games. We up out of here. Peace.